Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, or in this case this evening, I'm going to do part 2 of the story I covered a little bit earlier, all about the guy, the 65-year-old guy who's sharing his story over the course of his 20s and obviously early 30s would lead him down the R-pill path. And as in the first part you all recall, he was talking about his first love, Sarah from college, who cheated on him and he was all in love with. He learned some lessons there. And then his involvement with a nurse who was a cheater herself. And so this guy is really becoming, you can see, as you all recall, definitely becoming R-pill strong after his experiences. Nothing like experience. And we're going to continue on here with part 2 with more of his adventures and these gals teaching him reality. And this is a pretty entertaining one for you guys that like a long story. It continues on. The next section is titled The Playboy Bunny. Oh, I can only imagine this one. It says, fast forward a few years to 1987. By then, I had separated from the Air Force and was now working for a major aerospace company in LA. I was still a couple years shy of turning 30, work was good, and I was living in Seal Beach. Well, I left California with my family in 1987. Video dating was all the rage in LA. Video dating had been hit or miss for me. And I decided that it wasn't really the best way to meet a mate. But every now and then I would get lucky. Some were one day only and other were brief relationships. One day I got a response from a gal that I had approached through the video dating service. Her name was Cindy. Her profile stated that she was working in advertising and she was also a part-time model. Just about every girl in West LA looks like a part-time model. We eventually met up and Cindy was hot, hot, hot. Perfect body, long blonde hair, perfectly proportioned, and when you're dealing with hot, 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 you can get stupid, stupid, stupid. Amen. Yeah, I left freaking California in 1987. I was 9 years old, and I can't imagine what it would have been like if I was there in Southern California growing up with where I went as a teenager with all the hot girls. No, I spent my teenage years in small town Pennsylvania. To give you an idea, from hot, hot, hot girls to, well, you can imagine. Cindy and I hit it off. Dating her was fun. We had gone to some concerts, comedy clubs, and so on. We had not consummated the relationship at this point, which in a way I found refreshing. Who knew, but in LA you can actually find a conservative girl. We've been dating for about 3 months by then. Conservative girl in LA, who would have thought? Maybe she went to Pepperdine, I don't know. I met her mom and she seemed pleasant enough. Cindy's mom was attractive for her age. Cindy was 26 years old at the time and still lived at home. A red flag, I know. Nowadays, at 26 years old, that's fairly common. But back in those days, yeah, 26 years old, that is kind of a red flag in the late 80s. Believe it or not, my younger viewers here. I was 28 by then. I also met her older brother who was enlisted in the Navy and stationed in San Diego. He somehow managed to get home to Burbank most weekends. I found that odd, especially after my own experiences in the military. Cindy's father had died a few years earlier from some form of cancer, and his death had a big impact on Cindy. She mentioned it a number of times by then. I believed it was the only reason why she was still living at home. Cindy's part-time modeling career seemed exciting to me. She was pretty enough to be on one of those stupid TV shows that were on TV at the time. You know, like Charlie's Angels or some other vapid offering from the Hollywood crowd. She had been in Playboy. There was a poster of her in a bikini posing with a Ferrari. Holy fuck, I hit pay dirt. In hindsight, just a bunch of red flags obscured by the aura of her looks. Remember the hot crazy scale. Cindy invited me to her house for Thanksgiving dinner. Dinner itself was good. Cindy and her mom were good cooks. While eating dinner, her brother popped out a movie in the VCR. Oh my god, VCR. Y'all remember Betamax? They'd be competing in the VHS tapes here, and the little tiny Betamax tapes there. The days of going to the movie store was like part of a date with your girlfriend. You go to the movie store, Blockbuster, and you bicker and argue about what you're going to rent, and then you go home and watch it, and then you hook up and all that. The good old days. I don't recall the name of it, but it was about a bunch of astronauts returning to Earth in a glass coffin. That was the movie you watched, with a naked girl inside the coffin. After returning to Earth, the naked girl escapes. The girl eventually walks around London naked. She is sucking blood from clueless guys looking at her boobs. Our conversation subsided every time this girl's boobs showed up on screen. I was clueless as to why we were watching this movie. After the movie was done, her brother put in the movie Night of the Living Dead. We were all watching people eat people as we were eating turkey. With a carcass in the middle of the table, it was surreal. What the fuck? During all this time, wine was free-flowing. I kept a lid on my drinking because I knew I had to drive home. So I thought, what an opportunity to ask her about her modeling career. You know, Playboy, the Ferrari, and all that. Had she been to the mansion, the grotto? She stated that the Ferrari poster, along with the issue of Playboy magazine she was in, were in her bedroom, safely stored under her bed. I asked if I could see them. No, I had to wait for that. I pressed on her what issue of Playboy she was in. She responded, but not by month or year, but just by year. She was in a 1983 issue of Playboy. She would tell me more later. This all had to be true after all. Her mom and brother were there for the conversation. We all returned to watching the zombies eat intestines. I helped her with the dishes afterwards and left to go home. Again, surreal, and the dinner to this day is very vivid memory. I can imagine you're eating your freaking turkey and pumpkin pie and watching goddamn zombies and everything. Well, story for the grandkids. I had arranged for a trip with Cindy to go visit my aunt in the San Francisco Bay Area. This was after Thanksgiving, but before Christmas. We would spend 2 days in the Bay Area hitting the wineries and all that. I had arranged for us to stay with my aunt. Cindy was opposed to this and wanted to stay in a hotel instead. Well, cool, I thought. More naked time for us. We still had not consummated the relationship yet. Okay, you're telling me that you're dating a gal that posed in Playboy and other things like that, and she's smoking hot, and you still haven't gotten any yet? Now, I don't know how much time has passed here, but this is getting ridiculous, my man. Now, you said it felt like a breath of fresh air initially, but come on here. So we get to the hotel. Cindy decides to take a bath, and I joined her. Wow, what a fantastic body. Sounds like she's fucking with you, man, and not the way you want. Teasing your ass. The bathtub was fun, but a bit crowded, so after a while, I got up and went to the bedroom. Cindy came out in some really sexy black panties and nothing else, and promptly got into the other bed. What the fuck? Oh, she's playing games. So I approached her, got into bed with her, and started with light petting and used my suave, sophisticated seduction techniques. Well, she wasn't having any of that. She said, and I quote, "Don't do that. I may not be able to control myself." What the fuck does that mean? Stop or go, yes or no? Go against her will, or was her will to have me push through and take her panties off? What was I doing, you ask? I was between her legs, caressing her upper parts, getting ready to go down there, waiting for her to lift her ass, and I get those panties off. Dude, okay, we get the point. So I assessed the situation, decided to slow down and see where she was willing to go, to see if she would point in the direction that she wanted me to go. You know, lift her tail or not. It sure seemed like a clear green light showing off her body and letting me see her naked while I'm naked, and now not so fast. She didn't lift her ass, and those panties were not coming off. If it isn't a yes, it's a no. By then, I was of the opinion that if your partner is not enthusiastic about it or not taking those panties off, then trouble follows. For me at this point, there was a lot of effort going into a lot of nothing. I was beginning to wonder just how this relationship was going to be. How high maintenance was she? I tolerated it because I wanted it to work. You tolerated it because she posed in Playboy, and you could then know you got this hot girl that posed in Playboy and all that. You were putting up with this shit because of that. I guarantee if she was a 6, they wouldn't have gotten this far. Come on here. You would have been gone after a few dates, let alone the zombie Thanksgiving dinner thing going here. We all know why you put up with this shit, dude. Her hotness was sure burning up those red flags, and I knew it. Any other woman, I would have walked away at that point. See what I tell you. Fast forward a week, and she says that she talked to her mom about her staying overnight at my place. But her mom knew Cindy had gone to San Francisco with me the previous week. I was flabbergasted. A 26-year-old woman had to talk to her mom to let her know she was staying overnight with her boyfriend, and implying that carnal knowledge was going to happen. Who tells their mom that? Red flags, remember, hot, hot, hot. She was going to be with me all weekend, just like last weekend, except this time with SCX. I swear, it is amazing how delusional I became. See all these lessons this guy learned on his own, guys? So the next weekend, 2 weeks before Christmas, she came down to my place, and I took her out to dinner. After dinner, we headed back to my place. We talked for a while and then decided to hit the sack. Oh, I can't wait to hear this story. She wanted to see my thighs. Didn't she see them last weekend? Did she see me in all my glory last weekend? So I showed her my thighs. A few minutes later in bed, lights still on, we both stripped down, no panties, yeah. I hadn't really started any foreplay. Not even any meaningful kissing. She was enthusiastic up until the time I got to bed. She was quiet, not frozen, just not enthusiastic. It was awkward. Something was off. And then Cindy freaks out that I'm not standing at attention and jolts out of bed. She runs into my living room and is freaking out. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. She grabs her clothes, gets dressed, and leaves. What the fuck? Dude, we're all thinking this at this point. End this. She's messing with you. She's got some screws loose. Red flags. She's running around with red flags. It was over. I was done with this shit. About goddamn... After all this crap, you didn't get to nail her once. There was a lot more going on with her than I knew about. I was not prepared or willing to deal with her issues. Her aura was gone. All the red flags became very visible then. I realized I was way too eager. You think? I wanted that relation to work so bad that I was willing to ignore all sorts of warning signs. Yeah, and she knew it. And I guarantee the guys that didn't put up with her bullshit here were the ones that were plowing her. I really wasn't that long of a relationship either. 5 months. You were with her for 5 goddamn months and didn't get any and put up with that crap? Smack, smack. Jesus Christ, dude. Out of all the gals I had relationships with, Cindy is the only one that I had pity for. I can't see how she can have any healthy relationship. A few months after Cindy was gone, I was in a used bookstore in Seal Beach looking for some good cheap sci-fi books. While browsing the store, I came across a collection of Playboy magazines, complete years from 1982 through 1984, and a smattering of other issues from those years. And he says this is all true. The Playboys were all in good shape. So I started looking through the 1983 issues of Playboy, taking my time to look at every single picture from front to back, including all the advertisements for every single 1983 issue. He says, women were hairy back then. Cindy wasn't. To my surprise, no Cindy. So I went through the other issues thinking I misremembered the date. Nothing. I repeated the search a few days later to make sure. Nothing. And in case anybody's asking, Playboy came out with 2 special issues in 1983, and nope, not there either. I was sure she'd be in the March 1983 College Girls #1 issue. They had a few UCLA co-eds. I thought that was where she went to college, and then I remembered. She didn't really say she went to college there. She just went there to frat parties. I just filled in the blanks. The Playboy thing wasn't true, and now I doubt that she even went to college. What the fuck? Over. You mean pretty girls lie? Who would have thought? 5 months with that jackass. You see what the big boobs and the pretty face and the tight ass and all that and believing the BS stories got you? But you're all the wiser. Moving forward, there were a number of girls after Cindy. There was Kathy, a nudist since she was young. Her mom had naked parties at her house. I never went to those parties, as Kathy stated it was gross, as there was a bunch of old folks literally hanging around. Let me guess, this was in California. There was Fetchin' Gretchen. She was a keeper, but she was in Washington, D.C., and I was in Los Angeles. And long distance nipped that in the bud pretty quick. There were a few more before I met my wife. Over the years, there were some girls I consciously chose not to have relations with. These were girls that were saying yes, but I was saying no. Besides Mary, the Air Force nurse, there was Casey, the 20-year-old virgin. I didn't think I should be the one to pluck that fruit. There was also Pam, a girlfriend of mine who was ready to take the relationship to the next level, and I wasn't. There was Jen, who never got over her first love and could not move forward. Hers is a sad tale. There were others, but I forgot their names. The thing is, all these girls that I was interested in, I respected their boundaries by respecting mine and listening to my gut. Likewise, there were a lot of women that I succeeded in bedding down. I didn't care about the ramifications the next day, especially in my earlier years. I would tell you my true number, but you would divide it by 3 instead. I'll go with what my wife believes, 3 or 4, and that is my story. I'm sticking to it. Yes, if you gave me your number, I would divide it by 3. However, I certainly believe, given your story here, unless you're a fantastic storyteller, your number is more than 3 or 4 that your wife is believing. And newsflash, my friend, your wife does not think it's 3 or 4. In 2001, I was researching some common systems for a program I was working on, and the reference material was a familiar one. Sarah. There was an email address. Should I or shouldn't I? Well, I did and got an immediate response from her. She told me what she was doing, where she was, etc. Never mentioned anything about a relationship. So I responded telling her where I was and who I married. I was married to Mike's younger of the 2 older sisters. I had 2 kids and so on. She knew the brother of my wife from college and he was a frat brother of mine. Never heard back after that. That got me wondering. Through my contacts and the internet, I found out that she was divorced in the early 90s after roughly 2 years of marriage. This is Sarah, the girl from college who got pregnant and you did what you did and cheated on you repeatedly. Remember that? She had married her high school boyfriend after all. She was now single and had no kids. I also found a photo of her. She looked just like her mom. She was fair on the plump side of fat and 40. What I tell you in the beginning about the girls are going to look like their mother when they get older. Right there. That was over 20 years ago as of this writing. I recently searched for Sarah again. Her social media profile has that same fair, fat, and 40 photo from 20 years ago. But all the information she posted was current. She's living alone in a big house with a cat. Talk about a stereotype. Now, I'm glad the kitty has a home as a cat lover. As for Annie was the nurse. She eventually married... I heard some noise behind me. She eventually married her boyfriend, John. She's only married for a few years also. While her kids were still young, she left John or John left her. She took the kids and moved back to her home state to be with her mom. Time has not been kind to her. She looks tired, used, and worn out. Shocker. Rode hard and put up wet. John traded Annie for a younger woman. Younger by 15 years. Annie's alone and is a nurse living in an apartment also with a cat. Well, I'm glad that cat has a home. As for Cindy, I don't know. I can't find any information about her. Maybe she was a figment of your imagination. Maybe she was a ghost. Maybe we got some Christmas Carol thing going on here. That's why you couldn't sleep with her, because she was a ghost. She wasn't in Playboy, and you can't find anything on her. The lessons I learned from these and other relationships along the way were valuable lessons on what not to do. I also believe that the lessons that Sarah, Annie, and Cindy learned contributed to their choices in life. Sarah thinking no consequences for cheating. There are always consequences for cheating, and one day no one will want you back. Annie thinking the guy will always take you back, and Cindy for being a loon and a liar. I feel sorry for whoever she ended up with. That is if she ended up in any short or long-term healthy relationship. The end. So there you go, guys. Second part wasn't as long as the first part because I kind of breezed through it, but so that was quite interesting. I like these tales when guys learn through their experiences and what they share. And you made a fuckload of mistakes, particularly in your first relationship, but that's the thing. It was your first relationship, first love, first lay. So you did a lot of that clingy attachment shit and taking girls back that cheat on you that many guys do. So you learn. I had to yell at you, but you learn. And then getting involved with some crazies. And that wasn't cool that you were cheating on that girl, that nurse, but she was a cheater anyway. And you got what you deserved. That dog shit under your car handle is pretty funny. You got that because you're banging that guy's girlfriend. And anyhow, so a lot of lessons here. And of course, putting up with that Cindy chick who claims she was a Playboy model, but she obviously looked like one. And for 5 months not getting any and let her jerking you around and testing you like that. That's what happens when you put them on a pedestal and kiss their butt and treat them like the Queen of Sheba. So a good story, man. I'm glad you eventually settled down, found a woman that you married that you're happy with, and you have kids, and I hope you have a great family. And one day you'll be a grandpa, and you can share these stories with your grandsons, but probably you'll end up having granddaughters because just life is funny that way. I can tell you now, guys, at 46 years old, can you imagine me being a parent? Jesus Christ. And you know darn well that the universe has such a good sense of humor, the universe or God, whoever you want to call it, that I'd have girls. Can you imagine me with daughters? Oh my God. But anyhow, bro, I wish you all the best. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me just think about this. Give this guy a shout out for sharing a good story. And guys, you got a great story you'd like to share with me, definitely email to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it. I will when I get the chance. This guy emailed me a while ago, but I haven't gotten to this because it was a long-ass story, and that's just how it goes. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.